start with the NFC
Why not?
West. So we'll go with the first team, the Arizona Cardinals. And my pick was Hollywood Brown. He's the 29th wide receiver off the board with the current ADP. By the way, we are using Sleeper's rankings for this. Shout out Sleeper. Check your email. So wide receiver 29, 69.6 ADP. So it's quite simple for Hollywood Brown. He's the number one target in offense. I don't care who your quarterback is going to be. Kyler Murray most likely will be getting healthy at some point, I would assume, this season. And if he is, all the better for Hollywood. But being the number one target in an offense in the middle to late part of the 6th round, I mean, how many guys are going to be able to get hyper targeted like that in that range? So I think Hollywood Brown's a big time sleeper, especially at his current ADP. Good wide receiver 3.
Mm-hmm.
So Hollywood Brown this past season, he missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He missed 5 games, but when he did play, he had 3 games with 6 or less targets. Every other game he had more than 6 targets. So even with Hop there, he was getting 8 to 9 targets a game. When Hop wasn't there, he had to finish as wide receiver 3, wide receiver 11, wide receiver 10. It's pretty simple. Draft Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, I was going to say, without Hop, he averages over 8 targets a game and 16 fantasy points per game. He's absolutely going to have a big season this year if he's healthy. Who do you guys got?
All right, so I'm going to be a little different here. I don't have Hollywood Brown. Now, I know he is hurt right now, but based on where he's getting drafted, I would say to add Kyler Murray to your team. He's getting drafted as the 24th quarterback, and that's right in between guys like Derek Carr and CJ Stroud. You could draft another quarterback earlier on and just have Kyler Murray there at the end of your bench, say when he gets healthy. End of the season, maybe he's playing, maybe the Cardinals are all right, and he plays. Because when he's healthy, he puts up numbers as a quarterback who can rush the ball, do all that good stuff, and he'll get you some dubs possibly. So I think you should add Kyler Murray to your team.
When is he being drafted?
So he's
What's
getting
his current
drafted.
ADP?
His ADP in general is 167.
167.
That's
So
pretty low.
He's in like the 15th round.
Yes.
He's one of the last picks of a draft.
Yeah.
Technically.
So at that point, you might as well just take the shot on him. In my opinion,
I mean, hi, Dean.
you know,
I see that you're in the chat over there, buddy.
Dean said he's not wasting a roster spot on that little man.
Oh my God.
That little man.
He said it in 2 separate texts. Little man. All right, Ortiz, do you have someone different?
I do not. I also went with Hollywood Brown for my option. I mean, you said a lot. He's very good wide receiver 2 potential on your team, and you're drafting him in a position where he can be your flex. So it's always good upside when someone who could be your flex could also be a wide receiver 1 in certain weeks.
Yeah, just an honorable mention here. James Conner's spot is pretty damn low as well. I was kind of debating going back and forth between the two of them because Conner's obviously going to be a 3-down back for this team. The coaches have already expressed that as well. I'm not saying that his efficiency is going to be crazy, but we always know he gets goal line work and that he gets pass catching work as well. And they're going to need him to be catching some passes too. So
he's
James
going
Conner,
as the running back 25.
Yeah.
In games without Kyler Murray over the past 2 seasons, he would have been the running back 1 during that time span.
Yep.
So like when Kyler Murray's not playing, he produces. So
if you look at him down the stretch of last season, it was 20 pieces almost every single week. So
they're going in the same range too, Hollywood Brown and James Conner. So in that, what is that, like the 6th round, middle of the 6th round, depending on what you need. If you need a receiver, take Hollywood there. If you need a running back, James Conner's definitely a guy you should look into drafting.
Those are going to be the 3rd players for that position on your team, most likely. Like that's as good of a value as you could get at that point. So, all right, we'll move on to the next team. We'll go with the Los Angeles Rams. So, Ortiz, who would you pick for the Los Angeles Rams?
For the Rams, I actually have Cam Akers for the spot. I didn't write down his ADP next to him because I'm an asshole, but it's pretty low. And with Cam Akers, if you look at his stats, when he was getting over 70% of the snaps for the Rams, he was a top end running back in the league. It only happened a few games last season. But for those few games, he was at, I think, an average of running back 7,
yeah,
which is a pretty good for a guy who's being drafted very late in this draft.
So for the breakdown, yeah, anytime he had over 70% of the snaps, he's RB8, RB21, RB1, RB14, and RB11 in those weeks that he got 70% or more of the snaps.
Hopefully the Rams just see that and pretty much run him into the ground, because that's what all teams do with running backs nowadays.
And then don't pay him.
Yeah.
And then don't pay him, pretty much. Who you got, Trunks?
I'm going with the simple pick here. I'm going with Cooper Kupp. He's got an ADP on Sleeper of 6, and he has wide receiver 1 upside. I think it's an obvious pick. Whenever you have the chance to draft Cooper Kupp, you draft Cooper Kupp. Yes, he was hurt last season, but when he was playing weekly, he was the wide receiver 2, 5, 22, put up 16 points. Wide receiver 5, 15, 8, 3. He's a target machine, putting up 15, 14, 6, 19, 10, 8, 12, and 9. All those weeks he's healthy. He's obviously the number 1 there.
So
Matthew Stafford.
it doesn't change.
Isn't Cooper Kupp hurt
that
at
he
this
has
very
a
moment?
hamstring injury.
I don't think it does.
He's going to be shut down for probably the entirety of camp, which, like, cool.
It's fine.
Um,
Obviously, we'll see what it looks like as the season comes closer. But as of right now, he's someone that I would target.
I get a little scared of that.
Preseason hamstring injuries always concern
They
me.
linger,
But,
man.
Like you said, that's a guy who his floor is 16 fantasy points. Like you
Mhm.
said, when he was
That's a
healthy
bad
last
week
year,
for
that
him.
was his bad week. Yeah, I had him last year. So like when he was playing, I mean, it was the automatic wide receiver 5 at minimum on the week, pretty much. Like he's a cheat code. He's a cheat code.
Yeah.
But I have Tyler Higbee. He's
So do
going
I.
as a tight end 16. He finished last year as a tight end 6. He had weeks last year, tight end 5, tight end 8. He had 5 weeks last year where he was a top 10 tight end. Like, I'll take that at that point in the draft. His ADP is 131. So you're getting him at the end of the draft, second to last round, whatever it is. So I'd take the chance on him there.
Yeah, he's getting drafted. I believe it is in the middle of the 11th round at the current moment, and he's the tight end 16. Tight end 16 after being tight end 6 last year. I'm surprised you didn't pick a guy that you continuously hype up in Van Jefferson. Especially that he's a year removed from his ACL now. I think he's gonna have a big season, but I also picked Tyler Higbee. Yeah. I mean, look, to have the tight end 16 in the 11th, and a guy that has top 10 tight end upside, and I wrote here, he's not going to be dominant. He's not a Kelsey. He's not Mark Andrews, not a George Kittle. He's not going to have those games where he has 25 plus. But, like, especially now with the Cooper Kupp injury, like, I fear a little bit for the weapons in that area. Matthew Stafford's going to have to target someone. He has to target somebody. So, I mean, Tyler Higbee might get hyper-targeted a little bit underneath there, and I think that could turn into a top 7 or 8 tight end finish this season. And in the 12th round, like, it doesn't get much better than that. So, yeah, but all right, next up, let's see who we got here. The 49ers. I'll start. I copped out. I didn't pick anybody because I don't love where these guys are being drafted. McCaff, obviously, he's like, his ADP is 2.0 probably, if not a little bit higher, 1.8 maybe. I'm not even looking at it because I can't. 2.7, sorry.
It's okay though. Like, this is something that we're doing, that you would draft these players where they're getting drafted. Christian McCaffrey, I would draft him too.
I would definitely
He's who I
draft
picked.
McCaff where he's at.
It's a cop-out answer, but I'd pick Christian McCaffrey. You know?
I have Brandon Ayuk.
Ayuk's cool where he is too.
He's going in that same range as Hollywood Brown. He's one spot ahead of him on Sleeper, ADP of 68.1 in that 6th round. It's just those two guys in particular, the guys in front of them in terms of ADP, Michael Pittman, Chris Godwin, Christian Watson, even Jerry Jeudy. I'm drafting Ayuk and Hollywood Brown before all of those guys. So I think there's value in that. Like you said, though, Brandon Ayuk isn't a guy I'm targeting and saying I must leave every draft with, but if I had to pick one, there's some value there. You know, he's a guy who we think could potentially be a wide receiver 1. So you're getting a potential top 12 fantasy wide receiver, a guy with that type of upside in the 6th round. So it's worth the flyer.
It's tough for me because I've been hyping up Ayuk this whole offseason, and I love Brandon Ayuk, but it's just
It's a little bit
there's
too
so
high.
many
Yeah,
mouths
I've
to
been
feed.
picking him for a lot of things that we've been doing, like sleepers and all that stuff.
Like I
He's
love
getting
him,
drafted too high though. in
but
my
there's
opinion.
so many. Like if we were in a best ball league, I'm absolutely taking 49ers on my team, but
Mhm.
we're not. Like so it's tough because who's going to have the big week? I'm sorry, but Brock Purdy's not going to be able to keep every single guy afloat, like Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, and then McCaffrey. Like we're talking about 4 guys that are probably going to be high volume targets at different points in the season. So I don't know. Someone might get injured, and I hope not. I don't want to see any injuries, but like it's tough. It's definitely difficult. Debo's the safest one in my opinion when everyone's healthy. McCaff obviously notwithstanding, but yeah, who do you have, Ortiz?
I actually did go with Debo.
There you go.
He didn't have the best season last year, obviously, but he went into this season saying he promises us that he's going to have a really good season. And Debo seems like a very trustworthy man.
Did you see what Kyle Shanahan said about him? He said Debo's in the best shape of his life. And then he proceeded to say, I've never seen a man send me so many shirtless pictures. And then described how good Debo Samuel looks. And it was, they have like a bromance. So, yeah.
I mean, it's like you said, there's a lot of mouths to feed on that team, and it all comes down to health at the end of the day. But hopefully Debo could stay healthy and prove he's a game changer, which we all know he is.
Yeah. I think the one guy that like I'm kind of scared of drafting the most is probably George Kittle from that group.
I agree. I'd rather take any of the other tight ends that are in that area.
I
that draft position. I'd rather take any of the other guys.
I don't know if
George
I'd
Kittle.
love Hawk, but I don't know if I love Hawk for sure. But
I think I do, especially with Adam Thielen not being there anymore.
but yeah, I don't know. All right, next up, and I believe last up in this division, yeah, the Seattle Seahawks.
I have
Trunks. Go ahead.
Geno Smith. He's getting drafted at 119, and last season he was quarterback 5. There we go. I don't know. I don't understand why he's getting drafted so low because his team only got better this offseason. He has more weapons. I think it's very possible for him to. I don't think he's going to end up as the quarterback 5, but he's getting drafted as the quarterback 15 in between Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. And I just think it's way too low for him. So I feel like he's someone you should draft.
I also have a Geno Smith for that one. Just it's hard not to look at his ADP and realize this man was the QB5 last year. And as you said, his team's only gotten better. It's only right to draft him around the range where he was drafted in QB5.
What do you have? You go ahead.
So I have Zach Charbonnet, currently the RB 38. And his average draft position is 105.0. Currently, Kenneth Walker, he actually just returned to practice. Zach Charbonnet did. They were both injured for a little while. And at first, they were saying that Zach Charbonnet would be out indefinitely, which sounded terrifying to me. But then he was back literally days after. Ken Walker's still not at practice currently. And that concerns me a little bit because Ken Walker was dealing with some injuries last season as well. And Seattle Seahawks running backs overall just have terrible history of injuries. They can't stay lucky over there. But Zach Charbonnet seemed like he was set up for a role that he was going to take over a lot of the pass catching duty. And obviously in an offense where in general, in fantasy football, if you could take over pass catching opportunities in a backfield, that automatically gives you some sort of a basis and foundation for fantasy production. Plus, he's a bigger back than Kenneth Walker, so who's to say he doesn't take goal line as well? And he's a very talented running back, second-round pick. So, draft capital's there as well.
So for the Seattle Seahawks, I have the entire team.
Wow.
That's fair.
I think everyone is being undervalued. You guys talked about Geno. You talked about Zach Charbonnet. I think even Ken Walker is a little bit undervalued. I think Ken Walker was great last year. Guy is he's just a football player. Like that man is a running back. He's not a running back. He's a running back. Like that man is he's going to put up yards. He's going to find the end zone. Tyler Lockett is being severely
that was
undervalued.
another one that I was thinking about.
Tyler Lockett's going to be a top 15 wide receiver. He is every single year. And where is Tyler Lockett going? Late.
6th round, 7th round.
ADP 72.
Yep.
After Mike Williams, after Hollywood Brown, Brandon Ayuk, all those guys.
Yep.
DK Metcalf, I talked about DK Metcalf already. I think DK Metcalf could be a top 10 wide receiver. He's going in the middle of the 3rd round. He's going behind the Devontae Smith, T. Higgins, guys who I think are the wide receiver 2 on their team. DK Metcalf can be the wide receiver 1 on his team. And then JSN, where's JSN
I was about to
going?
say, does JSN worry you for Tyler Lockett at all, or even DK?
I think JSN just makes those 2 guys their lives easier.
Okay.
I think JSN's going to be the middle of the field guy. Like, he's going to be primarily in the slot. Obviously, JSN is more than a slot receiver, but on this team, he's going to be in the slot, and that allows those 2 elite outside threats to see more single coverage than they've ever seen in their lives.
Fair, yeah.
So I think everyone's going to eat. I think Geno's going to eat. I think the running backs are going to eat. This could be a top 5 offense in the
I
NFL.
agree.
So you want me personally, like, I want to draft all of these guys. I want to have a share in all of them.
In different leagues. Nice. Yeah. No, I definitely understand that. All right. So moving on from the NFC West,
Before, like, you think of how the guys on the 49ers are being valued. Like, we all think they're too high, but they're valued like that because we know the 49ers offense will probably be a top 5 offense in the NFL. It's the same thing in Seattle, I feel like.
Guys
Yeah,
are
like
just too low.
there is a lot of mouths to feed, but when you're going to be a top 5 offense, which I really do believe they're going to be a top 5 offense. I think they have weapons. I think the O-line's improving. So when you have that, you want to draft those guys because, yeah, they might not be as consistent as a team with less options and less weapons, but those guys are going to have weeks at different times.
Top 5 is high praise. Top 5 is high praise. I could see
They're
the
elite.
outcome.
They're
I could see
elite.
the outcome.